Have you ever noticed that the biggest obstacle in your life is often not the circumstances around you, but the voice inside your own head? That voice that tells you you're not good enough. That voice that reminds you of every mistake you've ever made. That voice that convinces you to doubt yourself before you've even begun. The question is, where does that voice come from? Because confidence isn't something you're born with. It's not reserved for the smartest people, the most talented people, or the luckiest people. Confidence is built. And negative thinking isn't a life sentence. It's a habit. A habit that can be changed. The most successful people in the world aren't successful because they never experience fear, doubt, or failure. They're successful because they refuse to let those things define who they are. Today, I want to share how you can eliminate negative thinking, break free from self, doubt, and build the kind of confidence that allows you to step into your potential. Because the moment you change the story you tell yourself, you change the direction of your entire life. So if you're ready to stop being your own biggest critic and start becoming your own biggest supporter, then stay with me, because this message could change the way you see yourself forever. Every person has an inner voice. It follows us through every challenge, every opportunity, and every decision we make. Sometimes that voice encourages us, pushes us forward, and reminds us of what we are capable of. But for many people, that voice becomes their greatest obstacle. It constantly points out flaws, magnifies mistakes, and predicts failure before any real effort has even begun. Negative thinking often starts here. It starts with the conversations we have with ourselves every day, often without even realizing it. The problem is that most people accept these thoughts as facts. When the mind says, "I'm not good enough," they believe it. When it says, "I'll probably fail," they accept it as reality. When it says, "Everyone else is better than me," they compare themselves and lose confidence. But thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are simply mental events. They are ideas, interpretations, and assumptions that pass through our minds. Yet many people allow these thoughts to control their emotions, decisions, and actions. Think about how powerful this is. If you tell yourself something often enough, you begin to believe it. If every day you repeat messages of doubt, fear, and limitation, your brain starts treating those messages as truth. Over time, negative thoughts become mental habits. They operate automatically. You don't even question them anymore. They become part of your identity. A person who repeatedly tells themselves they are not confident eventually starts acting like an unconfident person. They avoid opportunities. When they hesitate when speaking, they stay silent when they should share their ideas. They hold back from pursuing goals because they have already convinced themselves they will fail. The negative thought creates a negative belief, and the negative belief creates negative behavior. What makes negative self-talk so dangerous is that it often sounds reasonable. It doesn't always appear as an obvious lie. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic. It says things like, "Be realistic." It says, "Don't get your hopes up." It says, "People like you don't succeed." These statements feel convincing because they are connected to past experiences, disappointments, or fears. But just because a thought feels true does not mean it is true. Many people spend years carrying labels they gave themselves during difficult moments. Maybe they failed an exam and decided they were not smart. Maybe they were rejected and decided they were not worthy. Maybe they made a mistake and decided they were incapable. One event became a permanent story. One setback became a personal identity. Instead of saying, "I failed," they started saying, "I am a failure." Instead of saying, "I made a mistake," they started saying, "I am not good enough." The first step toward eliminating negative thinking is awareness. You cannot change a pattern you do not recognize. Most people hear their negative thoughts so often that they no longer notice them. The thoughts become background noise. They become automatic reactions to challenges and opportunities. That's why paying attention to your internal dialogue is so important. Notice what happens when you face something difficult. What is the first thing your mind says? Does it encourage you or discourage you? Does it focus on possibilities or limitations? Does it remind you of your strengths or your weaknesses? These answers reveal the quality of the conversation happening inside your mind. When you become aware of negative self-talk, the next step is to challenge it. Instead of accepting every thought automatically, question it. Ask yourself whether the thought is actually supported by evidence. Ask yourself whether you would say the same thing to someone you care about. Ask yourself whether the thought is helping you grow or keeping you stuck. Imagine a friend came to you and said, "I failed once, so I will never succeed." You would probably disagree. You would remind them that one failure does not determine their future. Yet many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another human being. They become their own harshest critic. They demand perfection from themselves while showing understanding and patience to everyone else. Confidence begins to grow when you stop treating every negative thought as a command. Just because your mind produces a thought does not mean you must obey it. You can acknowledge it without believing it. You can hear it without accepting it. You can question it instead of surrendering to it. The truth is that every successful person experiences self-doubt. Every successful person hears negative thoughts from time to time. The difference is not that confident people never experience negativity. The difference is that they refuse to let those thoughts control their actions. They understand that fear can exist without stopping progress. They understand that doubt can appear without determining outcomes. Your mind is constantly collecting information from your experiences, your environment, and your past. Sometimes it creates stories designed to protect you from discomfort, embarrassment, or failure. But protection is not always growth. The voice that tries to keep you safe can also keep you small. It can convince you to stay where you are instead of becoming who you are capable of becoming. Every time you identify a negative thought and challenge it, you weaken its influence. Every time you refuse to accept a limiting belief without question, you create space for a stronger perspective. Every time you replace self-criticism with self-awareness, you take another step toward confidence. The goal is not to eliminate every negative thought forever. The goal is to stop allowing negative thoughts to define your identity, shape your future, and determine what you believe is possible for your life. Every action we take is influenced by what we believe about ourselves. Long before people achieve success or experience failure, they form beliefs about what they think is possible. These beliefs become invisible rules that guide decisions, shape behavior, and determine how much effort someone is willing to give. The challenge is that many of these beliefs were never consciously chosen. They were formed through experiences, opinions from others, setbacks, comparisons, and moments of self-doubt. A limiting belief is an idea that convinces you that you cannot do something, become something, or achieve something. It creates boundaries in your mind long before any real boundaries exist in the world. It whispers messages like, "I'm not smart enough," "I'm not talented enough," "I'm too old," "I'm too young," or "people like me don't succeed," or "I don't have what it takes." These beliefs may seem harmless at first, but they have the power to shape an entire life. The most dangerous thing about limiting beliefs is that they often operate in the background. Most people never stop to question them. They simply assume they are true. Once a belief is accepted as truth, the mind begins looking for evidence to support it. If someone believes they are not confident, they notice every moment of hesitation. If someone believes they are not capable, they focus on every mistake. If someone believes they will fail, they pay attention to every obstacle while ignoring every opportunity. The mind naturally seeks consistency. It wants your actions to match your beliefs. This means that if you carry a limiting belief, your behavior often reinforces it. Someone who believes they are not good at public speaking avoids speaking opportunities. Because they avoid practice, they never improve. Their lack of improvement then becomes proof of the original belief. The cycle continues until the belief feels unquestionable. Many people spend years trapped inside stories that were created during a single moment. A child struggles with a subject in school and decides they are not intelligent. A young athlete loses a competition and decides they are not talented. A person experiences rejection and decides they are not worthy. These conclusions become personal identities instead of temporary experiences. What should have been a lesson becomes a label. The reality is that beliefs are not facts. They are interpretations. Two people can experience the exact same situation and develop completely different beliefs. One person may see failure as proof that they should quit. Another may see failure as evidence that they are learning. One person may see challenges as confirmation of weakness. Another may see challenges as opportunities for growth. The event is the same, but the meaning attached to the event is different. This is why changing your life often begins with changing what you believe. Empowering beliefs create possibilities where limiting beliefs create barriers. An empowering belief does not mean pretending everything is easy. It means choosing a perspective that supports growth rather than fear. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," an empowering belief says, "I can learn this." Instead of saying, "I'm not confident," it says, "I am building confidence." Instead of saying, "I always fail," it says, "Every attempt teaches me something valuable." The language you use matters because words influence beliefs. Every time you describe yourself, you reinforce a particular identity. If you constantly repeat negative descriptions, your mind begins accepting them as reality. If you repeatedly focus on strengths, progress, and possibilities, your mind starts building a different self-image. Confidence grows when your internal language supports your potential rather than attacking it. Many people wait until they feel confident before believing in themselves. But confidence is often the result of belief, not the cause of it. You begin by choosing a more empowering belief even when you do not yet have complete proof. You decide that growth is possible. You decide that improvement is possible. You decide that your future does not have to look exactly like your past. Think about some of the greatest achievements in history. Every innovation, every breakthrough, and every success started with someone believing in a possibility that others could not see. If those individuals had accepted limiting beliefs, they would never have taken action. Progress always begins with the willingness to believe that something better is possible. Empowering beliefs also change the way you respond to setbacks. A person with limiting beliefs sees obstacles as confirmation that they should stop. A person with empowering beliefs sees obstacles as part of the process. They understand that challenges are not evidence of incapability. They are evidence that growth is taking place. They know that every skill requires practice, every goal requires effort, and every meaningful achievement requires persistence. One of the most effective ways to replace limiting beliefs is to examine the evidence honestly. Ask yourself whether your belief is truly supported by facts. Many limiting beliefs fall apart under scrutiny. Often they are based on assumptions, emotions, or isolated experiences rather than objective reality. When you question them, you begin to realize that they have far less power than you once imagined. Another powerful approach is to focus on possibility instead of certainty. You do not need to know exactly how success will happen. You do not need guarantees. You simply need to believe that improvement is possible. Possibility creates action. Action creates experience. Experience creates evidence. Evidence strengthens belief. The beliefs you hold today influence the person you become tomorrow. Every goal you pursue, every opportunity you accept, and every challenge you face is filtered through the story you tell yourself about who you are. If that story is built on limitations, your world becomes smaller. If that story is built on growth, learning, and potential, your world begins to expand. The moment you replace a belief that holds you back with one that moves you forward, you begin changing not only the way you think, but also the way you act, the way you respond, and the way you see what is possible for your future. One of the biggest misconceptions about confidence is the belief that it appears overnight. Many people look at successful individuals and assume they were born with confidence. They see someone speaking on a stage, leading a team, starting a business, or achieving remarkable goals and believe that person possesses something special that they do not have. What they fail to see is the process behind the confidence. They do not see the small steps, the repeated efforts, and the daily victories that slowly built that person's belief in themselves. Confidence is not a gift. It is not a personality trait reserved for a fortunate few. Confidence is evidence. It is the result of proving to yourself over and over again that you can do difficult things. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, complete a task, learn a new skill, or overcome a challenge, you create evidence that you are capable. That evidence becomes the foundation of confidence. The problem is that many people make confidence feel impossible because they focus only on massive achievements. They believe they need to accomplish something extraordinary before they can feel good about themselves. They set huge goals and expect immediate transformation. When progress does not happen quickly, they become discouraged and start questioning their abilities. They overlook the fact that confidence is built through small daily wins, not occasional giant victories. A small win may seem insignificant in the moment. It could be waking up when you plan to wake up. It could be completing a workout, reading a few pages of a book, learning something new, or finishing a task you had been avoiding. These actions may not look impressive from the outside, but they carry tremendous power because they strengthen self-trust. Self-trust is one of the most important components of confidence. When you repeatedly follow through on your commitments, you begin to trust yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who talks about goals and start seeing yourself as someone who takes action. That shift changes the way you view your capabilities. Imagine two people with the same dream. One person constantly talks about what they want to achieve, but rarely takes action. The other person takes small steps every day, even when progress feels slow. After several months, the second person develops confidence because they have accumulated proof of their commitment and growth. Their confidence is not based on motivation or positive thinking alone. It is based on consistent action. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because they are focused on immediate results. They want dramatic change as quickly as possible. They want confidence without the process that creates it. But confidence is built in the same way a building is constructed. One brick at a time. Each small action adds another brick to the foundation. Eventually, what once seemed impossible becomes normal. Small wins also help break the cycle of negative thinking. When someone lacks confidence, they often focus on everything they have not accomplished. They compare themselves to others and become discouraged by the distance between where they are and where they want to be. This creates frustration and self-doubt. Small wins shift attention toward progress. Instead of focusing on what is missing, they provide evidence of growth. Every achievement, no matter how small, sends a message to the brain. It says, I am capable. It says, I can make progress. It says, I can trust myself to take action. These messages become stronger each time they are reinforced. Over time, they begin replacing the negative stories that once dominated your thinking. Confidence does not require perfection. In fact, waiting for perfection often destroys confidence. People who demand perfection from themselves become afraid of mistakes. They hesitate to take action because they fear failure. They convince themselves they need more preparation, more certainty, or better conditions before they begin. As a result, they remain stuck. Small wins encourage movement instead of perfection. They teach you that progress matters more than flawless execution. They remind you that every expert was once a beginner. Every successful person started somewhere. Every skill was developed through practice and repetition. Consider someone who wants to become a confident public speaker. If they focus only on delivering a perfect speech to a large audience, the goal may feel overwhelming. Fear takes control. Doubt becomes stronger. But if they focus on small wins, the process changes. They start by sharing an idea in a conversation. Then they speak in a small group. Then they present to a larger audience. Each experience adds evidence. Each step increases confidence. The same principle applies to every area of life. Confidence in health is built through daily habits. A confidence in business is built through repeated effort and learning. Confidence in relationships is built through honest communication and meaningful interactions. Confidence in personal growth is built through the willingness to keep moving forward despite uncertainty. Another reason small wins are so powerful is that they create momentum. Action generates motivation far more effectively than waiting for motivation to appear. Many people believe they need to feel motivated before taking action. In reality, action often comes first. Once you begin moving, energy increases. Progress becomes visible. Confidence starts growing naturally. Momentum changes your relationship with challenges. Instead of viewing obstacles as reasons to stop, you begin seeing them as problems to solve. Every challenge overcome becomes another small win. Every setback navigated becomes another reminder of your resilience. The more evidence you collect, the stronger your confidence becomes. Confidence is not created by what you say about yourself. It is created by what you repeatedly do. Positive affirmations can be helpful, but they become far more powerful when supported by action. When your words align with your behavior, belief becomes stronger. When you consistently show up, keep promises, and take steps toward your goals, your self-image begins to change. The person you become is shaped by the habits you practice every day. Small actions may not seem significant on their own, but their impact compounds over time. A single positive choice may not transform your life immediately, but hundreds of positive choices create remarkable change. Every completed task, every disciplined decision, every moment of courage, and every commitment honored becomes another piece of evidence that you are stronger, more capable, and more resilient than you once believed. One of the fastest ways to destroy confidence is to believe that everything you do must be perfect. Perfection sounds like a noble goal. It sounds ambitious, disciplined, and admirable. Many people spend years chasing it because they think perfection will protect them from criticism, failure, and disappointment. They believe that if they can just do everything flawlessly, they will finally feel confident. The reality is often the opposite. The pursuit of perfection creates anxiety, fear, self-doubt, and constant frustration. Perfection is an impossible standard because there will always be something that could be improved. No matter how much effort you put into a task, there will always be another adjustment, another correction, or another comparison. When people become obsessed with perfection, they rarely feel satisfied with their progress. Instead of celebrating how far they have come, they focus on how far they still have to go. Instead of recognizing growth, they focus on flaws. This mindset creates a dangerous cycle. A person sets an unrealistic standard. They work hard but inevitably fall short of perfection. They become disappointed with themselves. Their confidence decreases. Then they become even more afraid of making mistakes in the future. The fear of failure grows stronger, and their willingness to take action becomes weaker. Many people delay opportunities because they are waiting for the perfect moment. They wait until they feel completely ready before starting a business. They wait until they know everything before applying for a job. They wait until they have absolute confidence before speaking up. They wait until conditions are perfect before taking action. The problem is that perfect conditions rarely exist. Growth happens through action, not through waiting. Every skill is developed through practice. Every achievement is built through experience. Every successful person has made mistakes, faced setbacks, and learned lessons along the way. If perfection were required for success, no one would ever accomplish anything meaningful. The focus on perfection often comes from a fear of judgment. People worry about what others will think if they make mistakes. They fear criticism, rejection, or embarrassment. As a result, they become cautious and hesitant. They avoid situations where failure is possible because they believe failure says something negative about their worth. The truth is that mistakes are not evidence of inadequacy. They are evidence of effort. They are signs that you are learning, growing, and stretching beyond your comfort zone. Every skill you admire in someone else was developed through countless errors, corrections, and improvements. What looks effortless today is usually the result of years of imperfect practice. When you shift your focus from perfection to progress, everything changes. Instead of asking whether you performed flawlessly, you begin asking whether you improved. Instead of measuring success by impossible standards, you measure success by growth. Instead of demanding perfection from yourself, you commit to becoming slightly better than you were yesterday. Progress creates momentum because it allows you to recognize improvement. Even small improvements become meaningful. A person who exercises consistently may not see dramatic changes immediately, but progress is still occurring. A person learning a new skill may not become an expert overnight, but each practice session contributes to development. A person building confidence may still experience moments of doubt, but each act of courage represents progress. One of the reasons progress is so powerful is that it keeps you moving forward. Perfection often causes paralysis. People become so afraid of making mistakes that they stop taking action altogether. Progress encourages movement. It reminds you that improvement is more important than flawless performance. It allows you to learn through experience rather than remaining trapped by fear. Consider how children learn. They do not expect perfection when they first attempt to walk. They fall repeatedly. They lose balance. They make mistakes over and over again. Yet they continue trying because they are focused on learning, not perfection. If children approached learning the way many adults do, they would stop after the first failure. They would interpret every fall as proof that they were incapable. Somewhere along the way, many people begin treating mistakes as personal failures instead of natural parts of growth. They start believing that errors should be avoided at all costs. This belief creates unnecessary pressure. It turns every challenge into a test of self-worth rather than an opportunity to learn. Confidence grows when you give yourself permission to be imperfect. It grows when you understand that mistakes do not define you. It grows when you stop expecting immediate mastery and start appreciating gradual improvement. The more you focus on progress, the more willing you become to take risks, try new things, and embrace challenges. People who focus on progress are often more resilient because they understand that setbacks are temporary. They do not interpret every obstacle as a sign to quit. They see setbacks as information. They look for lessons instead of reasons to give up. This mindset allows them to keep moving forward even when results are not immediate. Progress also helps reduce comparison. Perfectionists often compare themselves to others who appear more successful, more skilled, or more accomplished. These comparisons create feelings of inadequacy because they ignore the journey behind the results. When you focus on progress, your attention shifts away from other people and toward your own growth. The question becomes not whether you are better than someone else, but whether you are improving compared to your past self. Every meaningful achievement is built through a series of small improvements. Athletes improve through daily training. Writers improve through consistent practice. Leaders improve through experience and reflection. Confidence improves through repeated acts of courage. None of these transformations happen instantly. They are the result of progress accumulated over time. Progress creates evidence that change is possible. Every step forward reinforces the belief that you are capable of growth. Every challenge overcome demonstrates resilience. Every lesson learned strengthens your ability to face future obstacles. The more progress you recognize, the more confidence you develop in your ability to continue improving. When people focus only on perfection, they often overlook how much they have already accomplished. They become trapped by unrealistic expectations and lose sight of genuine growth. When people focus on progress, they develop gratitude for their journey. They learn to value effort, persistence, and improvement. They understand that confidence is not built by becoming perfect, but by continuing to move forward, learn from mistakes, and become stronger through the process. The people around you have a greater influence on your mindset than you may realize. Every conversation, every interaction, and every relationship contributes to the way you think about yourself and the world. Human beings are naturally influenced by their environment. We absorb attitudes, habits, beliefs, and expectations from the people we spend the most time with. This influence can either strengthen confidence and positivity or reinforce negativity and self-doubt. Many people try to improve their mindset without paying attention to their surroundings. They read books, watch motivational videos, and set personal goals, but they continue spending most of their time around individuals who constantly complain, criticize, and focus on problems. Over time, this creates a conflict. One part of their life is moving toward growth, while another part keeps pulling them backward. Negative thinking is often contagious. When people continuously focus on limitations, failures, and worst-case scenarios, those perspectives can begin to feel normal. If you regularly hear statements like, "That will never work," "Success is only for lucky people," "Why even try?" or "People never change," it becomes easier to adopt those beliefs yourself. The human mind is constantly gathering information from its environment and using that information to shape its view of reality. Think about how often attitudes spread within groups. One person's negativity can influence an entire room. A single pessimistic perspective can change the energy of a conversation. The same principle applies to confidence. When you are surrounded by people who believe in growth, possibility, and effort, their mindset influences your own. Their confidence becomes evidence that improvement is possible. This does not mean you need to avoid every person who experiences challenges or struggles. Everyone faces difficult moments. Everyone has periods of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. The difference lies in their overall perspective. Positive influences are not people who pretend life is perfect. They are people who face challenges while maintaining hope, responsibility, and a commitment to growth. A positive influence encourages you to become better. They support your goals. They celebrate your progress. They remind you of your strengths when you forget them. They challenge you to think bigger and aim higher. They believe in your potential even during moments when you struggle to see it yourself. Confidence often grows through encouragement. Sometimes another person sees abilities in you before you recognize them. A supportive teacher, mentor, friend, family member, or colleague can help you discover strengths that have been hidden beneath years of self-doubt. Their belief does not create your potential, but it can help you recognize the potential that already exists. Many successful people can point to someone who encouraged them during a critical moment in their lives. Someone offered guidance, support, or belief when confidence was low. Those moments matter because they remind us that growth is not always a solitary journey. The people around us can play a powerful role in shaping our perspective and reinforcing our determination. The opposite is also true. Constant exposure to negativity can slowly erode confidence. People who repeatedly criticize, discourage, or dismiss your goals